And now we are going to learn about features in QuickBooks that allow you to find any transaction you're looking for after it has been recorded into QuickBooks. If you're trying to find payments, which is usually the most common transaction in a file, there are two ways that are readily available for you right now that you can look at. You could find payments by vendor, or you could find payments by the expense account that it's in. If you're looking to find payments by vendor, you can use the Vendor Center, and it's very easy. You can click right on that vendor. If you're trying to find payments by the expense account, you can open the trial balance and just double-click right on that expense, and you'll get a list of every payment towards that expense. Right now, let's just take a look at the Vendor Center. From the icon bar, you can click Vendors, and our good friend, the Vendor Center window, will open up. You might remember that just by clicking on one of the vendors on the left, you get a list of transactions for every one of those vendors. For example, if you click Rex Repair, you'll get a list of every transaction that you ever did with Rex Repair. And you could always double-click and take a look at the details of that transaction. If you want to search for a particular payment by going through each expense account, you can double-click on the trial balance and double-click the expense that you want to look through, and you'll see every payment towards that expense. For example, let's open the trial balance and let's double-click delivery expense. When I double-click the money amount of the delivery expense in the trial balance, a window opens up and it shows me every single payment for delivery. These two were credit card charges, and if I expand the column a little, this one was made by Holden from Holden's Pocket, from Holden's personal account. And that's why it says this one came from Capital One, this one came from Chase Freedom, we can make this a little wider, but this one came from Holden's personal account. The top and bottom payments for delivery were from FedEx, but the middle one was from UPS. So any account in the trial balance, you can double-click the balance and get a detail. What about repair? Look at repair expense, $420. You say, well, why is it $420? If you want the answer, double-click. Repair expense is $420 because we wrote Rex a check for repair on July 9th for $100, and then on July 23rd, Holden paid from his personal account $320 for a business repair. So using the Vendor Center and also double-clicking the account in the trial balance are two very good ways to find anything you're looking for. There are two additional tools in QuickBooks that help you search and find things you're looking for inside the file. However, these two features are probably not needed if you're doing the minimum amount of QuickBooks and you're following the steps that are in this video. But I decided to include two bonus videos, one for each of the tools that also help you find things in QuickBooks. One will be about the Find window, and the other will be about the Search tool. And they're included in this video if you just allow this video to continue to run. Please keep in mind that these two other videos have been made for another company. These two videos were made for one of my very specific and very nice clients. So be aware that these videos will not apply to the file that we've been using, but they do clearly show how you can use these tools in any QuickBooks file to find what you're looking for. I hope you enjoy them, I hope you learn from them, and after you experiment and explore with what you learn, you can proceed to the next video. And now we will learn how to use the Find window. In our first example, we'll find an invoice to Muirhead. Okay? From the top left button here, click Find Transaction, and the Find window opens up. The Advanced tab will be shown later, and you might need a separate video to really master how to find things in an advanced level. But the Simple tab will work for 99% of the time. You would choose the type of transaction you're looking for. If you click here for Estimate, and you click the Find button, you'll get a list of every estimate that's in the file. If you click Invoice and you click Find, you'll get a list of every invoice that's in the file, and you'll be able to double click and have that invoice open right in front of you. Okay? But the great thing, if you click Reset, it clears out. The great thing about the Find window is you can search by anything you know about that transaction. For example, if I want to see all the invoices specifically for the Muirhead company, I would come down here to Muirhead. So now I have Invoice Muirhead selected, and I click Find. This is the only invoice in the file to this customer, and I can double click and go right to the invoice, print it, edit it, or whatever I need to do. You could also find the transaction by amount. For example, I happen to know that there's a transaction somewhere for $231. Click Find Transaction, and if we click Estimate and we put in the amount 231, then click Find, nothing happens. But if we choose Invoice and we put the invoice of an amount of $231, notice the invoice to Mary Thomas on May 17th comes up. We could also search by date as well as by customer, or invoice number for any number for any transaction type that we choose. Okay? When we double click, we can see that invoice. Okay? What if we wanted to search by check? Okay, I want check number 1. Click Find, and there's nothing. But what about check number 61? Click Find. Check number 61 was to Abco Refrigeration. When I double click, I can see the actual check that I recorded when I entered it. And now we will learn how to use the Find window. In our first example, we'll find an invoice to Muirhead. Okay? From the top left button here, click Find Transaction, and the Find window opens up. The Advanced tab will be shown later, and you might need a separate video to really master how to find things in an advanced level. But the Simple tab will work for 99% of the time. You would choose the type of transaction you're looking for. If you click here for Estimate and you click the Find button, you'll get a list of every estimate that's in the file. If you click Invoice and you click Find, you'll get a list of every invoice that's in the file, and you'll be able to double click and have that invoice open right in front of you. Okay? But the great thing, if you click Reset, it clears out. The great thing about the Find window is you can search by anything you know about that transaction. For example, if I want to see all the invoices specifically for the Muirhead company, I would come down here to Muirhead. So now I have Invoice Muirhead selected, and I click Find. This is the only invoice in the file to this customer, and I can double click and go right to the invoice, print it, edit it, or whatever I need to do. You could also find the transaction by amount. For example, I happen to know that there's a transaction somewhere for $231. Click Find Transaction, and if we click Estimate and we put in the amount 231, then click Find, nothing happens. But if we choose Invoice and we put the invoice of an amount of $231, notice the invoice to Mary Thomas on May 17th comes up. We could also search by date as well as by customer, or invoice number for any number for any transaction type that we choose. Okay? When we double click, we can see that invoice. Okay? What if we wanted to search by check? Okay, I want check number 1. Click find, and there's nothing. But what about check number 61? Click find. Check number 61 was to Abco Refrigeration. When I double click, I can see the actual check that I recorded when I entered it. And now we will learn how to use the search bar, which is a tool that allows you to find any item of text in any of the records in the QuickBooks file. And now we will learn how to use the search bar, which is a tool that allows you to find any item of text in any of the records in the QuickBooks file. For example, let's find every instance of the word cookie. We go to the search bar and we type it in, and then when we click the eyeglass, we notice it's searching now. And now notice 2 items or 2 instances of the word cookie are somewhere in Steve Thomas's file. The first instance is in this invoice to Truce Brothers, and the second one is in the customer records for Giovanni. If we double click this particular transaction, okay, we can click open to open it up. We see, and in the bottom left corner of this invoice where it says memo, I purposely wrote, remember to bring cookie. The other instance of the word cookie is in the customer records, Giovanazzo. So if I click open here, I can get the customer center, and it highlights the one with the word cookie in the record. When I double click, I can see that I purposely put the word cookie in Giovanazzo's address just to illustrate this point. And that's how you can use the search bar to your advantage.